What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for some more content for you guys today, and what we're going to be looking at is our predictions to the transfer window, seeing who Spurs are going to buy, who Spurs are going to sell. We did do this about a year ago today, so we're going to just quickly glance over our predictions from last summer and see how bad or good that we did do last summer, and then we'll take it to the current day and do our predictions for this summer. So let's first of all have a look at what we predicted for last summer. So we both predicted Bastoni to come in. You said 53 million, 60 million.
It wasn't a prediction, it was how we would spend it.
True, that's true. So this is how we would have spent 150 million. The next one's is more of a prediction though. I said Koulibaly in for 25. He ended up going to Chelsea. Dumfries, I said 30. He never ended up leaving. Spence, we both got. I think he was pretty much on the verge of signing when we did put him in there. You said Lewis Dunk. You said Baku.
I stand by those. I think they would have been good signings.
Yeah, probably would have been, to be fair.
Dunk would have been much better than Dyer.
100%. And we both had Fraser Forster, Perisic. I think they were already signed at the time. Both of us had Ericsson coming in. I had Bissouma coming in for 25, which was pretty much spot on.
Absolutely spot on. I said Ward-Prowse for 55. Didn't quite pan out like that.
Yeah, and then you had Scamacca and Terrier for 40 and 33, while I had Gabriel Jesus and Richarlison. I mean, the price on Richarlison was a bit out of it, but I think we signed him for, what, 60 million, and I said 35, and then I had Jesus for 40. What did Jesus end up going for to Arsenal?
45.
45, it's not too bad.
Far off.
So I had a spend of 235 million and you had a spend of 254 million. In terms of the outgoings, this is what we said for outgoings. Matt Doherty, you had him going for 12, I had him going for 5. What did he end up going for?
3.
It was 3. Oh yeah, we ripped up his contract, didn't we?
Yeah.
Reguilon, I had 25, you had 30. We ended up
still here.
loaning him out. Emerson, you had 23, I had 20. Still here. Garter Vickers, what did he end up going for? I can't remember.
About 8 million, I think.
Yes.
That's about right.
8 or 6. Roden, we both had 10. He ended up loaning. Tanganga, we said loan. He ended up staying. Winks ended up going out on loan. You said 18 million for Winks.
That was a bit of an overstep, I think.
I said 10 million. Ndombele, we both said 15 million. You thought we would get more for Winks than Ndombele.
Apparently. I don't know what I was thinking.
Lo Celso, you had 22. I had 20. Divine, we both said loans. So all of those were completely wrong. Next up, we had Jack Clark for loan, and I said 4 million. I think it was close to the 4 million. How much? I can't remember how much he actually went for, but I think it was around 4 million. Bergwijn, you had 23, I had 20. How much did he end up going for, Bergwijn?
I think it was 27, wasn't it? Something like that.
Was it 27 to Ajax?
I think so. Or we signed him, maybe it was like 25.
No, we signed him for 27.
It was 25.
Okay.
I think it wasn't, we got some good money for him, if I remember.
And then we all had Sarr, Parrott, Scarlett and Hill all on loan. So we were right on all of them pretty much, apart from Sarr. So you were spot on those ones, apart from Hill went in January, but still pretty much spot on. So you had us bring in 161 and I had us bring in 135.
Did we actually bring in like 40 or something? We brought in barely anything.
Yeah, literally barely anything. So that is the situation where we were at last summer. So let's see, moving on to the current day, where we're going to go. So we'll start off with you, Sim.
For me, so this is incomings. We'll start with incomings. I've gone obviously Vicario. We're about to sign him, so he's going to be my goalkeeper. I've gone for 2 defenders, Tapsoba, who obviously work for 30 million. I think we're in advanced negotiation with Leverkusen. I think as well, 30 million from the Bundesliga. I think that's a decent price. It could be slightly higher, but I'm going to go for 30. Maxence Lacroix is an interesting one. I've gone for him for 22 million. 22-year-old. His stock has kind of fallen a bit from Wolfsburg after he was highly sought after last year. And I still believe at 22 years of age, I actually looked at his metrics. His passing is still pretty good. He's one of the quickest centre-backs in the Bundesliga. So I've gone for... he can play on the right or the left as well. So I've gone for a cheeky bid for Lacroix, and I reckon under Ange he could improve a lot, even though he didn't have the best of seasons last season. Obviously, midfield, I've gone for Maddison. I've gone for 50 million. Could be some add-ons on top of that potentially, or could be 45-plus add-ons. But I've gone for around 50 million. I've gone for Alex Scott as well in the midfield to add a bit of technical ability and a younger player as well. And in attack, I'm adding Nico Williams for 32 million. He's got 1 year left on his contract. He's a really good dribbler, and he is a player that we could really be after. Could play on both wings as well. 20 years of age, got 6 goals and 5 assists last season, so he's really starting to break out. So I've gone for Nico Williams as our signing.
Interesting. 169 million spend Sim's going for Spurs this summer. Let's see who he's selling.
Yep, I'm selling a lot as a big clear out. Big clear out. Let's see if we can get all of these out. So I think the prices are probably more realistic this season. So Lloris, I'm selling for free. Hopefully around 8 million for Davinson Sanchez. I'll be lucky to get it, to be fair, but I've gone for about 8. Ryan Sessegnon, seeing that he's young and he's, when he's played, he's been fairly good, but I would sell him if we can get money for him. So 10 million for Sessegnon. Joe Rodon, hopefully we can get him out the door. We signed him for 12. He's still a young centre-back, starts for Wales, so going for 7. Tanganga I would sell for 6 million. He's not getting a look in the moment. Eric Dyer, got a year left on his contract. England international, didn't have the best season, but I'm looking at close to 10. I'm looking at about 9 million maybe from Premier League team. Perisic, I've gone for a cheap 2.5 million, even though he's got 1 year left in his contract. He still obviously starts for Croatia. He's still quite decent on his delivery. He got 13 assists last season, so I've gone for someone to be paying 2.5 million. White, Harvey White, 0.5 million. I don't think we'll get much for him. Højbjerg, I've gone for 35 million because I still think he's a very good player, but I would sell him just because I do believe he's a limited player. I wouldn't mind keeping him around, but I do think we wouldn't sign 2 midfielders if we kept him. So I was gone for us to sell him for 35 and bring in Alex Scott. Harry Winks, I think probably going to go to Leicester for 5.5 million. I've gone for, and Giovanni Lo Celso 16 million. Hopefully to Aston Villa, maybe Villarreal, but I think that's a fee that could be even Barcelona, some people are saying. So I've gone for Spurs to receive 99 million with all those. So an outlay overall of about 70 million.
Not too bad.
Not terrible.
70 million. And let's see how they would actually set up in the squad depth with your transfers.
Well, you got to remember we don't have European football next season, so we don't need to be completely chock-a-block in every position. Just like if you look at centre-back, basically Vicario and Forster my keepers. Right back I've got Porro with the backup of Spence or Emerson. Left back I've got Udogie with the backup of Reguilon or Davis. And then centre backs I've got Romero, Tapsoba with backups being Lacroix and Davis. Obviously Davis, not happy with him being a left centre back, but Lacroix can play on the left and as well. Hopefully 3 should be enough without European football, but if we get 2 big injuries we would be in trouble, not going to lie. Midfield, I've gone for the base. We've got Basuma, Skip and Sarr can all play that role. In the first number 8 position, which is a bit box-to-box, you've got Bentancur, Scott, Skip and Ndombele, who could all potentially play that role. And then at the furthest one, you've got Maddison, Ndombele and potentially Kulusevski all playing in the furthest number 8 on the wings. On the right, you've got Kulusevski, Gil and potentially Porro. On the left, you've got Son and Nico Williams. And up front, we've got Kane and Richarlison. So I do think we're fairly well covered. I think maybe it's a start to a rebuild, probably midfield, and then potentially another centre back in the future. You're probably looking at maybe another right winger, but depends how Hill performs, and it depends on the development on Skip and Sarr as well. Is dependent on how good we're going to be next season. But I do think that's a pretty well balanced squad.
Yeah, it's an interesting one with the defence. You've got Lacroix playing back up to Romero. I mean, I don't know. I just can't see that one happening, to be honest.
His stock has fallen. He could go for a big move. He could look to move, he's only 22. He's only 22.
I think if he was to move from Wolfsburg, I think he would go to start somewhere. I don't think he goes to play backup. I think he would even go maybe even to a lesser club than Tottenham if he was starting week in, week out. I just think that's what he needs for his development, to be honest. But I think the other ones are pretty realistic, to be honest. I think Nico Williams could definitely come in. The other ones,
Scott.
Yeah, I like them. I like them, to be honest.
I've gone for us to keep Reguilon, have him battling out with the Doji rather than signing another left back. I think that's pretty well balanced. If Lacroix is willing to come, I think that's probably. I think that I'd be happy with that.
Well, let's move on and let's look at my incomings and outgoings. Starting off with the incomings, I've gone for just 5 signings this summer. Vicario in for 17 million. In defence, I've got incomings of Tapsoba for 40 million and Tosin Adarabioyo for 8 million from Fulham. I've got Maddison coming in for 50 million and Jota from Celtic coming in for 20 million, coming in at 135 million. In terms of Jota, I think he's a really good player, really tricky player, and obviously he knows the way that Ange Postecoglou loves to play. Postecoglou absolutely loves this player, and I think there's actually a high possibility that we will go in for him at some stage this window. In terms of Tosin Adarabioyo, I've got him to come in and play backup to Cuti Romero. With 1 year left in his contract, it's very well documented that he wants to leave Fulham, and I think it'll be a really good move for him to come here to Tottenham, and I think he's a really good player. For that price, I think we should snap him up. In terms of the outgoings, I've gone for a big clear out. Not as big as Sim's clear out, to be honest, but a big clear out nonetheless. I've got Lloris going for 3. I've got Darrington Sanchez going for 5 million. Sessegnon going for 10 million. Reguilon and Rodon going for 5 million each. I've got Ivan Perisic going for 3. I've got Harvey White going for £500,000. I've got Harry Winks going for 5 mil, and I've got Giovanni Lo Celso bringing the most money at 20 million. So that is 50. We only bring in 50.5 million, and I think the net spend there is about 84.5 million. And if you look at the squad depth under my ruling, let's see what we got. So the squad depth here, you've got in goal Vicario and Forster. Right back, you've got options there of Porro, Royale and Spence. Right centre-back, Romero and Tosin. Left centre-back, you've got options between Tapsoba, Dyer and Tanganga, although I would not like to see Dyer or Tanganga, to be honest. I just can't imagine us selling all these players all at one go. So I think this is going to be a long burner, and maybe we'll look to get rid of Dyer and Tanganga in the following window. Udogie and Davis I have my left back. In the midfield, I've got Bissouma and Skip, and potentially Sarr could play there as well. For the attacking of the midfielders, I've got Maddison with Ndombele getting his one last chance at Tottenham. And then on the other side of the midfield, I've got Bentancur, Sarr and Højbjerg. And the reason I'm keeping Højbjerg is I think they want to keep him around because we're going to be short with Bentancur being out for the first half of the season at the very least. So I think Højbjerg is going to be sticking around for at least until January, in my opinion. And then up front, I've got Kulusevski and Hill for the right-hand side, with Pedro Porro potentially could be playing there as well. On the left, I've got Son and Jota, and maybe Hill could be playing there as well. And then up front, I've got Kane and Richarlison. But with all the Kane news today, it has made me rethink this a little bit, but I'm going to stick with it, and I'm going to say Kane is going to stay. So what's your thoughts on my setup?
Yeah, it's pretty solid. I like that you've got a bit more depth of centre back than I do with Dyer, keeping Dyer Tanganga. Obviously, I'm probably a bit more optimistic about the outgoings. I'm selling Højbjerg, I'm selling Dyer and Tanganga, and you're keeping all 3 of those. That's probably what's going to happen, to be honest. I like the Jota signing, and I actually think he's going to be a lot cheaper than someone like Nico Williams. I just think Nico is probably a bigger prospect right now, so I'd go for him. But Reguilon, you'd sell Reguilon and keep Davis as backup, which makes sense. I actually think Davis might be a pretty good fit for that inverted wing back as well, because I think his passing's pretty good. So
that's what I was thinking.
I do think he could be a good player there. And you went for the Ndombele to stay, which is interesting because you always wanted him to leave, but
this is a prediction, not a.
So you predict he's going to stay?
Yeah, I think he will. I think we're going to keep him until January and test the waters. I mean, as much as I want to sell him, I do want to sell him, but my prediction is for him to actually stay.
Interesting.
So that's where we're at. That's where we're at. And if you bring up the graphic of how we've combined it between us and see how we can compare it.
Yeah.
So here we go. Sim's got 6 players come. Oh no, you've got 7 players coming in.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
6 players coming in. I've got 5 players coming in. Vicario's obviously Tapsoba. We're both in agreement with. I've gone for Tosin. You've gone for Lacroix.
I think Tosin would be closer to 15 if we were to buy him.
I've seen reports of him going for like 6 million or something.
I've seen 15. Fulham want 15.
So I guess it'll be between 6 and 15, somewhere in between. So I went for 8 million. You went for Lacroix for 22 million. Maddison, we're both in agreement with. You've gone for Alex Scott, which I'd love to see, to be honest. I would love to see Alex Scott come in. And then I've gone for Jota, and you've gone for Nico Williams. So which ones do you think are more realistic?
Probably your ones, because it's less and they're cheaper. So I'd probably say that your ones are knowing Tottenham there, and also looking. But I would say Scott, I wouldn't be surprised if we have a cheeky late bid for him, especially if we're selling Højbjerg. If we keep Højbjerg, I don't see us going for someone like Alex Scott. Lacroix would be a very interesting one. I would like us to go for him, but obviously Tosin having 1 year left in his deal and being English is probably a bit more realistic. But I think Lacroix is younger and probably definitely has a higher ceiling than Tosin, so I'd definitely like to see him. And Nico or Jota, I think probably Jota's more realistic, coming from the Scottish League, probably get him for a bit cheaper. But Nico does have 1 year left on his deal, so maybe there is a deal to be done there for a cheaper price. But obviously Jota, having knows Andrew's system, I reckon Andrew probably want to bring him in.
Yeah, so you're spending 169 million, I'm spending 135 million. Let's look at the outgoings now and an extensive list of players departing from this football club. And the players that I haven't had departing that you have, my prediction is that they go in the following year. So I do think that all these players will end up eventually going, but I think it's just a bit unrealistic for all of them to go in this one window. But let's go through them. You've gone for Sanchez 8 million, I've gone for 5 million. We've both gone for Sessegnon 10 million. Reguilon, I've gone for 5 million, you've gone for him to stay. Joe Rodon, you've gone for 7 million, I've gone for 5 million. Tanganga, you've gone for, what is that, 6 million? I've gone for him to stay. Dyer, you've gone for 9 million, I've gone in for stay. Perisic, you've gone for 2.5 million, I've gone in for 3. I just think that with Perisic, with the wages that he's on, I just think it's just a case of getting him out of the club and freeing up those wages. And I just don't think someone's going to spend money on him plus give him those big wages as well. So that's why I went for him for 3.
Fair enough. I think potentially you could take a wage reduction if he really wants to leave. We've seen players recently, like De Gea has agreed to like a massive wage reduction. I don't know. I just think you could, like with the quality he still has, I think 2.5 million isn't completely unreasonable, maybe a bit less.
And Harvey White, we've both in agreement for 500,000. Højbjerg, you've sold him for 35 million. I've kept him. Winks, we've both gone 5.5 million. Lo Celso, you went 16 and I went 20. So I bring in only 50.5 million and you bring in 99 million.
So despite the fact that I'm spending 30 million more than you, I've actually got a smaller net spend, but it's dependent on us with big incomings with Højbjerg, Lo Celso and Dyer, which is the biggest incomings, and Sessegnon as well, which you could argue is not realistic, but if we're serious about selling them, I reckon we could get buyers for them, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think we can. I don't know. I just think it's a lot to do in one window. I just don't think I think even my one is a lot to do in one window, and I don't think potentially we might not do it. So I think like this rebuild is going to take time. It's not going to happen just in one window. So I think you got to look at the next 2 windows to get rid of all these 2 summer windows to get rid of all these.
I mean,
players,
I'm looking at mine and how much work I'm doing, and there's still so much work to do after I've done the work I'm doing, which is crazy. That's how much the rebuilders we need. That's how bad it is. Yeah.
Well, look, I would be more than happy if your outgoings, it was more similar to your outgoings than my outgoings, but they are pretty similar at the end of the day. And as much as I'm keeping Tanganga and Dyer, I don't really want to see them stick around, to be honest. But if they're here just as cover, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. So there we go. That's our prediction for the transfer window. Let me know in the comment section below, whose do you think is more realistic? Whose would you take over the others? Let me know in the comment section below. But those are our predictions for the transfer window this summer. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.